Collect information pertaining to each entrance. Equipment you will need: tape measure, flashlight, straight edge or ruler, approximately 18 inches, clipboard. Position yourself standing in the hallway facing the landing door. First, provide the building name, elevator number, and address if you have it. Next, you will need to document the following information: elevator voltage. You can locate this information inside the elevator machine room. Elevator capacity and class of loading. This information should be posted inside the elevator. Door operation type. Indicate if existing doors are automatic power or manual operation. Handing of equipment. Indicate the location of the following equipment by circling the item on your plan view. Vision panel. Hall push buttons. Emergency unlocking device. Elevator car push buttons. Wall construction. Indicate if the wall construction is masonry, block, or drywall. The chart on your survey sheet is divided into front and rear lines. When filling in the chart, be sure to use the correct section. These survey instructions will cover one line of doors only. If you have a rear line of doors, you will need to repeat the following measurements. If your hoistway has more than 5 floors, you will need to use an additional survey sheet. Floor designation. Use the car station to correctly identify the floor designations. Indicate the floor designation for each door located on the front and rear lines by writing the floor designation on your elevation, as well as in the chart provided. If there is no door located at a landing, indicate this by crossing out the opening using hatch marks. Door type. The two most common types of doors are regular or pass type. A pass type door has an upper panel that is offset from the lower panel. If you are unsure whether or not you have pass type doors, Peelle can determine this based on your floor-to-floor dimensions. Opening width, dimension A. From the hall side, measure the full opening width of each landing door. Measure from one jamb to the other. Opening height, dimension B. From the hall side, measure the full opening height of each landing door. Measure from the floor to the header. Entrance frames, dimensions C1 and C2. Measure the entrance frame channel at each landing. Also indicate if the frames extend to the beam above or the header. If the entrance frame does not appear to be standard C-channel, then sketch a detail of the existing frame and include dimensions. Gate type. Indicate whether you have a single section gate or a double section gate. Returns, dimensions D and E. Measure the returns at each landing. With the landing doors open, extend the tape measure into the return space until you touch the wall. You will need to use a straight edge in order to extend the jam edge. When measuring the return space, please note any obstructions on either side of the car. Peelle equipment requires a clear space from the platform to the sidewall and 2 feet back from the front wall. Car clearance, dimensions F and G. Measure the car clearance at each landing. With the landing doors open, measure the distance from the landing sill to the car platform. Measure each side and do not worry if the dimensions are not the same. This is not unusual and can often be accommodated for proper running clearance. Car laps, dimensions H and I. With the doors fully open, measure the distance from the edge of the platform to the jam. You will need to use a straight edge in order to extend the jam edge. This dimension can vary. It can be small, large, 0, or even negative if the door opening is offset significantly. Distance between enclosure angles, dimension J. Measure the distance between the enclosure angles. Cab wall thickness, dimensions K and L. Measure the distance from the edge of the platform to the inside of the enclosure angle. Platform width, dimension CC. Measure the distance from one side of the platform to the other. Add up dimensions J and K and L. If this total sum is not the same as dimension CC, then you will need to remeasure. Cab setback, dimensions M and N. Measure the distance from the front of the platform to the start of the cab wall. Car enclosure height, dimension NN. Measure the distance from the car floor to the car ceiling. Car depth, dimension Q1. This dimension is for front openings only. If your elevator has a rear opening, then skip this measurement. Measure the distance from the back car wall to the front of the platform. Platform depth, dimension Q2. This dimension is for elevators with openings at the front and rear. Measure the distance from the rear platform edge all the way to the front platform edge. Pit depth. Move to the lowest landing. Measure the distance from top of the lower panel or trucking sill to the bottom of the pit floor. To do this, extend the tape measure between the door panel and the platform until you reach the bottom of the pit. Look for any obstructions, such as pit ladders, and document their location. For traction elevators, note the location of the elevator counterweight and measure the distance from the front shaft wall. Floor-to-floor dimensions. Measure the distance from one landing floor to the next. This can be difficult to do. Here are several options you can use to obtain the floor-to-floor measurement. Option 1. Measure from the lower panel above to the header below. Then add the opening height. Option 2. If the opening heights are the same, measure from the trucking sill above to the trucking sill below. Option 3. If there is an adjacent stairwell with the same floor levels, measure the floor heights from within the stairway. Clear overhead. You will need to move the elevator to the top landing. Measure from the header up to the top of the elevator shaft. And add the opening height. If there is equipment mounted directly above the door or car gate, take the measurement from the lowest point of the equipment.